Welcome, and just a few words from me before we start. So my name is Jesper Juhl. I'm technically the head of the Visual Game and Media Design program, but this is obviously a shared endeavor between lots of people. So thanks to everybody who taught, gave lectures, or otherwise supported us this semester. I'm proud to present here the graduation projects of the Visual Game and Media Design program at the Royal Danish Academy here in Copenhagen. First of all, to you students, we know that there were an infinite amount of things you could have chosen to do, so thanks for choosing to study with us. It's always pretty touching to say goodbye, and it has been an exceptionally strange time. Your very first semester here was actually the only one that wasn't interrupted by global pandemics. And regardless of that, I'm deeply impressed with the quality of the work you created during this strange time. I think one thing we all learned during the last year and a half is that culture matters. It matters that we have imaginative worlds, games to play, designs to ponder. And it's amazing to see you respond to and make media, culture, and so on for the rest of us. And to you watching, thanks for coming by and witnessing with us the breadth of work here. There are games, there are worlds, there are animations, there are character designs. There's an impressive amount of depth and sheer quality of work that the graduating students have created this semester. What happens now is that each student presents for around 4 minutes in dialogue with a supervisor, and all of this is interspersed with cameos from the local game industry and collaborators. Welcome, I hope you'll enjoy it. Thank you.
Hi, you guys. Huge congratulations with your degree exams. I hear you've all done very, very well. And I wish you the best of luck with your future careers and looking forward to seeing your work at the exhibition, which I hope, and to know that you will all be celebrating that you have finished, finalized, and put a huge mark on your educational project. Congratulations.
So, hi Casper.
Hi.
So, can you tell us a bit about your project? Like, what was your motivation for doing it, and what is it?
Yeah, conceptually, I got inspired or frightened a little about regarding the January 6th event in the capital in USA. So I thought about making this dystopian world future scenario where this authoritarian rule has taken over. So I worked with that, and then on the more practical level, my motivation was to do a project where I could showcase my skills as a 3D journalist and a tech artist. So I decided to do a game where I could kind of work with those skills I've obtained throughout my school training.
Cool. And can you point to something, say, like in the video that you're kind of particularly proud of? Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of elements. I mean, I'm proud of everything actually, but especially like I made this drone swarm that comes out from these hubs, which you will see a bit later, and I kind of feel that became a very good element in the project, and I was quite satisfied with the expression of that. So.
But isn't that? I mean, what do you see your profile as? Do you see yourself as a tech artist? Is that how you describe yourself now?
Yeah, I mean, like it depends, because I also like working with 3D in general, and like I don't mind doing a lot of legwork in regards of taking roles of supporting concept and art directors. So I guess it depends where I will end up, but I'm kind of more leaning towards the 3D generalist, since being a tech artist, often you sometimes have to go deeper down in the render, like a render artist stuff, which is a bit more on the programming side, and I'm probably more on the artist side of the spectrum.
Oh, cool. And we're just seeing the swarm. Did you call it the swarm?
Yeah, and you see now it gets kind of disturbed by this explosion, and kind of goes into this mode where it starts flocking instead of changing the structure. And but it's a drone swarm.
And so, how do you make a call like this? Like, how I can see you've used lots and lots of kind of interesting kind of visual effects. So, like, this is kind of a predator-like transparency, and there's kind of fog and depth and kind of swarms. Like, how do you decide what to put in a project like this?
I mean, I started out like having a quite long concept phase and ideation phase, where I went into building a story world, where I used the world building mandala, normally used in the film industry, and I used that as a tool to kind of like make a world building and a solid story world behind it all. So, and in that phase, I kind of came up with ideas and what elements that should be in the world and what should not be in there. And so that was kind of my main tool conceptually. So I basically used that when I went into the production phase and making both assets and effects. So.
Okay, interesting. So anyway, you're doing the whole range from, say, like, the story world to kind of shaders and kind of particle systems and so on.
Basically, yeah. So.
No, cool. It's very beautiful. It's kind of really fascinating. So thanks a lot, Kasper.
Thank you.
Hi, Daisy.
Hi there.
So your project is diegetic wayfinding in open world games. So can you explain, like, what's the deal with the diegetic part of this title?
So I was interested in making something to do with open world games, and diegetic suggests that it's part of the world. So it's a more immersive type of wayfinding that I wanted to learn more about.
And so, what's the overall project like here? Can you kind of sum it up briefly? Like, how did you come about doing this project, and what's the end result?
Yeah, so as I said, I wanted to learn more about open world games, and I decided to focus the semester on learning more about level design and wayfinding. So I started by doing research on theories on wayfinding in urban planning and architecture by Kevin Lynch, The Image of the City, and studying how people remembered the spaces they were in and the kind of process or decisions they made about the routes they would take. Then I looked at how other open world games use wayfinding as a tool to help people find and complete their goals. And then for this project, I wanted to make a prototype or something playable so that I could get people to play test and see if the ideas I had made sense to other people.
Well, so now as the video is playing, can you point to something in the video that kind of exemplifies one of the things you kind of found out?
So I had made 3 different types of wayfinding. One was kind of a wind or a particle effect that pointed in the direction. Another was a vision, or a layer that allowed you to see through the environment to the objectives to collect. And then the third was a beacon that highlighted the location of the objects. So I made an open world level where you needed to find doors to these other levels where you would collect objects. So in this scene at the moment, they're using the vision or the wayfinding that helps you see through the structures in the environment to the location of the collectible to pick up. So here it's like shining red. So the playtests I did, one thing I thought was interesting was everyone had a different favorite type of wayfinding. I thought there would be a clear winner or loser in the wayfinding I had made, but everyone liked to use it in different ways, which I thought was really interesting.
Okay, interesting. So it ties into this idea that accessibility is often about kind of doing the same thing in many different ways to speak to different audiences or different people.
Yeah, the playtest, people could toggle when and where they wanted to use the wayfinding. So I kind of made it available to them to use it in whichever situation they thought it would help most for them to complete the objectives.
Oh, cool. And what kind of world? Now we talked a bit about the wayfinding aspect. Like, what kind of world did you make for your wayfinding?
Yeah, so I have this picture behind me is the open world or the surface, which is kind of an archipelago of islands that are connected by bridges. And then I have 2 levels that you can jump into from this world. And I took a lot of inspiration from architectural references such as St. Peter's Seminary or Grafton Architects, UTEC in Lima, Peru, to build these kind of interior environments that you could walk around and collect objects.
Okay, very cool. Very, very interesting. So thanks a lot. Thanks, Stacey.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Juan.
Hi.
So your project is called Little Procedural Entropy. So can you unpack for us what that means? Like what's the project here?
So this project was began from examining some methods for procedural content generation in environments, and I wanted to do something small using these procedural generation tools. And the entropy part comes from my analysis where I wanted disorder and like a noisy output in the game. And also I was very interested in new AI techniques, and I was advised to start with the easiest, that was like doing this crossover or doing it between characteristics of a solution. And in this case, what I was doing, I was creating assets, like breeding them, like mixing them in real time, and that has like a technical side to it. That is like you need to construct them at runtime and build their, all the stuff that's behind it. But it was also like introduction to me for me to learn new techniques in AI, or learn something basic, and specifically how this fitness functions and how like the mindset behind AI for games. And this is like what's behind this environment, and the kind of chaos of the environment in the video. Yeah.
But can you explain, like, so can I download this, and like what is it if I download it?
If you were to download the prototype, you'll be presented with an environment that's always changing small parts, but the player can change the rate of change in the environment. You can make the changes faster, and you'll be able to select some characteristics or models that are more interesting based on how much time you spend selecting them or on them. And sometimes in between this mess of mixing, you'll find some models that you want to promote that are interesting in among all the disorder. But at the end of the game or the entire thing, it will just go dissolve into a soup of polygons. Everything will just go into entropy. That's the thing.
Okay, so then it's like a genetic algorithm, and the fitness in a way is like a human choosing what they like. Is that
exactly? And that's called mixed initiative procedural content generation, where you also involve the player or the user in selecting this what's good, what is scored as good.
But it creates some kind of really fascinating things, and I guess even the diagrams are kind of fascinating. Could you just explain what you see is this something you imagine that would be part of a game? So as a player, I would be kind of selecting these things, or is it something you see when you talk about like this kind of mixed initiative? Do you see that as being kind of part of the tool set of kind of game development?
I think a little bit between both, like being also a tool for creation in a game, but also for an artist working in a production environment. I think it serves both purposes, like the underlying algorithms. It reminds me a little bit of sport to this thing where tool and game mix, and that's where I see this kind of tech to have, that can have a space.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, so I mean, it relates to like a lot of kind of contemporary questions about kind of budgets and kind of creativity and so on.
Yeah, that was the other part of the project also, like seeing how these tools also are very intertwined with labor in saving hours, and who's gonna be kind of disposable with these tools, who's gonna lose their jobs, and who's gonna be keep doing their job. Yeah.
Okay. So thanks a lot, Juan.
Thank you.
Welcome, Michael.
Hello.
So your project is called the Isekai Farm. Can you walk us through like what's the project and how about making this particular project?
This project is my take on a farming game. Like I've always been a big fan of like farming games in general, but I think that the like specific farming simulation, like actually doing the farm work, has become a little bit stale. So I wanted to create a game which has a kind of unique take on the farming aspect, while also making use of like most of my other passions and prior experiences while making games. So for instance, like during my entire study, most of my games had a very heavy focus on like character creators and combat. So what I wanted to do was make a game with a mix between farming and combat specifically.
So what's but I mean, aren't farming games kind of perfect? So what's wrong with farming games?
There's nothing wrong with farming games. We also keep making new farming games as well. I just think that the core like farming aspect of the farming games have been mostly the same since we like started making farming games, such as like the original Harvest Moon back on the Game Boy. I think it's the original Game Boy. So yeah, the goal was specifically to try to see if we could make something, perhaps make a in between something like Farming Simulator, which is more towards a heavy simulator rather than a farming game per se.
And so what is it that the combat does here? Like so your game kind of looks pretty kind of expansive. So you came really far with this game. So how does the kind of combat or these kind of sequences tie together with the farming part?
So the way it works is that like most of your interactions that you use for farming, you also use directly inside of combat. Currently, we can see we just saw the player use a spell which was used to water your crops, but this spell can also be used during combat and where it's just doing damage to the enemies. Most of your actions, such as like swinging a hoe, is used in combat in the same way that it would be used for the farming aspect specifically.
Oh, cool! Yeah, so you tried making pretty universal kind of actions that work across.
Yes.
So how can we download this game now? Or?
You can download the current version of the game. It's on my itch. I think it should currently have the most updated version and should be 100% playable.
And so now, because when I just look at the game, or we look at what you handed in, so what's your role here? Did you play like every possible role? I was just wondering, are you?
I did kind of play every possible role, but my main interest was as a game designer and also partially as a tech artist and a programmer. I did all the programming myself, but it's mostly because I wanted to make this game, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, great. Thanks a lot, Michael.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Arthur Stein, and I'm an artist, designer, and teaching associate professor here at the Institute for Visual Design. And Christopher, he would like to present his final project. Christopher, can you tell us a little bit about the game?
Yeah, hello. I've made a side-scrolling sort of an adventure game that's based on dreams. And I've tried to use like dreams as a working method, both in making the visuals and in coming up with ideas for game mechanics. And it's called Passage.
Okay, so you decided to do something on dreams. So why dreams? What do dreams mean for you?
Well, I had the idea for it in a dream, and I kind of decided to go with it. I feel like dreams is a good way of talking about the subconscious in general, which is where a lot of stuff goes on. That's interesting, both like generally and especially when making art. Yeah, and you also involve some dream psychology. Yeah, I've been trying to base it on like pretty old school dream psychology, and this has been an inspiration for obviously both for like the way that different dreams are interwoven, but also if you notice the house that's on the screen right now, I used a visual technique for making that one that's based on, at one point Jung compares dream images to these photos made by this guy called Francis Galton, who's like a geologist and psychologist, and that's like a very early version of these like average face photos, and I've tried to use techniques like that of like overimposing different photos and making designs from those kind of collages, but like images on top of each other. And then everything seems very hand drawn and maybe some collage. Indeed. So why did you opt for the hand drawn style? Initially, I wanted to do the whole project on paper and scan it, and then I decided not to. So I kept going in the same style. I guess it's worth noting that I did everything myself. I wanted to try and see if, except the music, I wanted to try and see like how far I could get working on my own. Yeah. Okay, we have to round up. It seems, Christoph. Maybe one last thing. Yeah, sorry about the choppy video. I had some hardware troubles, but it's been fun trying to make a game. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Hi, Link. Good to see you, and we're looking forward to see your game running here. And can you tell us a little bit about the game?
Yeah. So this game is currently a vertical slice of a bigger project. It's called Project Seminar, where in this game the player plays a role of a detective and have two demon partners, where they engage in combat against other demon users in this city. So my role in this game. Okay, so. My role in this game is as an art director, character designer, and mostly graphic related stuff such as UI. The goal is to go through the whole experience of developing a playable game together with Jesper.
Yeah, you have been working together on the project from the beginning, and yes, found out how you can divide your tasks. So. If you can say what do you think is what are you most proud of in the game? What do you think is the best that you have been contributing with?
And for me personally, I think what I'm most proud of is how the process of working together with Jesper as a game director and a gameplay designer, where our work is very much intertwined with each other, and how I managed to like make a lot of design decisions based on what the gameplay needs and what the player needs based on player feedback. So it's very practical stuff where I'm glad for like been executing. Yeah.
Yeah. And who you think it is for? What is your target audience?
I think the game is made for people who like fast-paced action game, and for in the aspect of visual, the people who like seeing comic book-like visual in video games. Which is two groups that often have overlap, so it's a very clear audience.
Yeah. Maybe you can tell a bit more about comic book style, how you got to that, how you can manage.
Yeah, I have been looking at other games like do a similar thing, like how they manage the lighting and the rendering, and what kind of stylish choice they use. So in case of this game, what I end up choose to do is to let the character rendered very clean with clear color, no too much detail on shadows, while the background, as you can see in the video right now, they have more gradients and nuance in colors. So that way I can try to emulate some of the older comic or animation style where the background are painted and the character are silhouette. So they pop more out in this very fast game.
Okay, so everything looks really good and smooth and professional now. So where were the biggest challenges to get it so far for you?
So the challenges have mostly be like time and production level. I'm not very skilled with 3D, and I have to spend mostly work on 3D in this project. So that has been a challenge. And another thing is like it's an action game where we need lots of animations, and we don't have a dedicated animation guy or animator. So there have been like compromises and challenges in regards of that.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we have to wrap up now and make place for the next project. Thank you very much, King.
And this is Hannah Nicklin from Die Good Fabrik, just sending you a quick message to wish you all the best with your final show. Really excited to see what you've come up with in this show, but also just to see all of your wonderful practices develop throughout your lives. Have a great one.
So this is a kind of combined presentation. So we have kind of three people: Nils, Johan, and Mia, who each did a component of a larger project called This Is Home.
So we have.
And so, who wants to go first? So, Johan, can you talk about what the project is and what your part in the project was?
Yeah, it's a 2.5D side scroller set in fictitious Denmark, or a reinterpretation of a near futuristic Denmark. And I worked as a 3D artist, and my focus was on prop design and texturing. So yeah, that was kind of my part.
So can you talk a bit more about like what's I don't know who wants to talk about the universe most? So I think that was kind of interesting with you three. Like perhaps you can explain a bit how you divided up the work a bit, like, and how did you say like come from a universe to kind of each of your three roles?
Sure. Mia approached me and kind of gave me a briefing on like an idea she had, and then we like came together and talked about how we wanted the game to look and feel and the setting and all that. And then we realized we were going to need some special effects, so we approached Nils. And like at least for me and Mia, we were very like we knew almost from the beginning that we wanted to work with almost exclusively the visuals of the game with the fidelity. So we kind of knew in advance that Mia would be exclusively working with like compositioning and lighting, and I would be working with textures and 3D, and Nils on the special effects and all the tech artist stuff, such as camera and all that.
Yeah, okay. Before we get in all the tech stuff, which was a huge thing for you, I've been mainly working with you, Johan, and I noticed you put a lot of time in the texturing, and it looks really great. And there's also a lot of humor in it, hidden humor. So it's really good for everybody to take a good look and find the hidden gems, I would say. And maybe you can tell a little bit about your way of approaching your texturing process.
Well, everything is hand painted from the bottom up in Procreate, and like depending on what kind of texture I was making, like whether it was a manufactured one, like a texture on a car, or it's a natural organic texture, I would approach them accordingly. Like if all the organic textures are way more loosely based, kind of like an abstract painting, whereas with for stuff like a gas station, I would be a bit more deliberate and like consider like their identity, like creating a fake identity for a fictitious gas station, and like spend a lot of time on that.
Yeah, so like for example, the metro we see here, which is
the
metro station we just saw. With,
the metro station is a combination of Copenhagen Central Station and Frederiksberg Allé, where it's like a mix of the warm colors from the central station and like the surface treatments from Frederiksberg Allé, which lent an opportunity to me to play around with the lighting and the reflections and all that. I tried to take that into consideration with all my assets, like how they could also be utilized by my peers. So
maybe we can jump to Mia and talk about lighting. Lighting.
Yeah. So Mia, can you explain what was your approach to lighting here?
Well, I mean, you wanted to focus on how I can use the lighting to reinforce a certain feel or mood, and this game was really inspired by Nordic Noir and the Danish and Swedish television series. At the same time, I really wanted to invest some time into the technical side of being a lighting artist, so working with the HDRP and its limitations, and then figuring out what's possible within them.
All right, and I think one of the things you did in your report was show a lot of analyze a lot of examples of kind of different aspects of light in kind of Nordic Noir, and do these kind of comparisons between different ways of kind of lighting a specific scene. But was there anything particular you think you really learned here?
Well, normally when I approach lighting a scene, I will add the lights one by one, and you have something called the key light and the fill light, and usually these two will be contrasting colors or complementary colors. And in Nordic Noir, it's really dark and moody and Scandinavian, so they usually have a fill and key light really close to each other, which makes the entire scene really monotone and blue and dark and gloomy, like the videos you see here. So that's something I try to mirror in the scenes.
Okay, interesting. So I guess so that's kind of what gives it the kind of Scandinavian feel in a way, right?
Yeah, I think that along with some atmospheric things like the really heavy fog and just subdued use of color in general.
Great. And Nils, so can you talk about what your role was in this project?
Yeah, so I had a whole bunch of roles. So I was primarily the technical artist, but I also worked with the VFX and as well as tool development and some gameplay coding. But I generally focused on the technical art in this project. So I made, for example, the camera controller. I made the way we structure the scenes from programming standpoint, as well as making all the VFX in the scenes, the different environmental elements. That was also all of them was kind of based on my approach to VFX this time around, which was much more in terms of larger systems with small components. That was kind of simple, but really flexible.
So, Niels, where were your biggest challenges, or what's you're most proud of in the VFX department? I remember a nice underwater scene, for example. I don't know if you've seen it because I'm looking in two directions.
Yeah, so actually the underwater scene specifically isn't really a large part of my work. There's definitely some VFX in it that I'm kind of I'm okay with that. It can always get better, I suppose. But the thing I'm most proud of is the subspaces, which is a supernatural element that the player interacts with throughout the game. There's a lot of tech going on behind the scenes, and it was a lot of work to make that work.
And I guess the same question for Mia and Johan. So what are you most proud of in the final project?
I don't know. I actually felt like personally I made quite a lot of different assets without having them being too repetitive, and I did like I feel like I did a lot without sacrificing quality. I feel like that's a high fidelity to every single asset I've produced, and that's just like a general sense of satisfaction that I've gotten from this project. That and the machines, they were fun.
And Mia?
Yeah, good question. I think my favorite scene is probably the metro scene. I think it just came together quite naturally. I'm not sure. Like, always feel like there's stuff that you can improve, but being in terms of lighting, that is the one that got closest to the visual aim that I had for the game, or that we had for the game.
It was also one of the fastest ones we developed. Ironically. I think that is about 2 weeks of work, making all the assets and the lighting and the textures and all that. So quite quick in comparison to a lot of the rest of the game.
One note regarding the station. It was one of the quickest scenes, but it was also one of the scenes that was most hard on the camera controller. A lot of work went into that as well.
So easy for some of us, or fast.
Yeah. Maybe also because you were further in the process.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Probably.
Yeah.
But it's a really beautiful project, and of course it's just kind of fun to do this kind of the Nordic dark sci-fi kind of experience. So that's amazing. So thanks a lot, Niels, Johan, and Mia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Thomas Ridgel. Just wishing you all huge congratulations with your masters in game design. I hope you all go out now and make fantastic, new, wonderful, innovative games that the world have never seen yet. I'm so cheering for you and really looking forward to seeing what you come up with. So huge congrats and have an awesome summer. Bye-bye.
Maria was one of my students this year, and she did an amazing concept for a animated television series for youngsters, Can you show us some?
Yeah. As Jakob said, it's a concept for an animated TV series, and my first inspiration for it was the concept of loneliness, as we are in this weird situation, and because it has increased, especially between younger people, both children and teens. And I wanted to play with that, with characters and how they felt, and the different kinds of loneliness, because it's not necessarily when you are completely alone. It can also be when you are with people. And another thing I was inspired by was following different characters and how they think. And through the story, in the different seasons, you follow a new character. So there's a new protagonist every season. Because I found it interesting to go really deep into this psychological way how a character thinks and how their history is. And as I mentioned, it's an animated series for teens, and I feel like there's a lot of animation for a young audience, for children, especially in Denmark. And I felt like we could have something for a little bit older audience. And then I wanted to do a pitch for this project. I also made a pitch to show it to people, and got good feedback from people in the industry, and what they saw was interesting and what I could do even better.
But the main setting is Denmark, but there's something happening underground as well.
Yeah, there are two worlds. There's our world and the other world, as you saw in the pictures. And a group of teens are sent over there and are trying to get home. But the only way they can get home is being together. And obviously that's not easy if you get separated.
You want to pitch this for Danish television, and you already talked to some of the producers, I know.
Yeah, I've already done that, talked a bit with people from DR, and got really good feedback.
Okay, great. I'm looking forward to see it.
Thank you.
We're live again, and hello to Bertram, and he's going to revolve the secrets behind VFX. I guess some of them.
Some of them. Yeah, well, I can tell what the project is about. Basically, it was based on when you work on ambient effects and very subtle effects. You kind of like when you want to show them off to the public, like in a portfolio piece or so on, you kind of like focus on making all the effects very subtle, like just fitting in the environment without like the people who are watching it actually realizing they're there. They're just there to like enhance the feeling. And I wanted to take a different approach to it, where I literally turn it around and let the player interact with these like hologram simulation buttons, and then actually place each VFX layer on top of each other until the whole game is like the full scene with all the effects in it. Yeah, so that's basically the game.
Yeah, and we in a way it's a portfolio piece, but we wanted you to make it into like an educational piece as well. So I was wondering if you have moved on that part. What do you think about that? It could be something to educate people about what VFX are.
Yeah, I mean, it has a really good potential to indicate like what the aspects of a visual effects artist is actually doing, because it's what is visual effects and what are visual effects artists doing. It's kind of like a broad aspect, since you go into like the tech areas, you go into very artistic side. You can do everything from touching animations at the 3D developer do, or building meshes and everything. So this way was kind of like a way to show all different examples of different VFX that a VFX artist could create doing a project. And I think like it really it portrays it quite well of what, like, if you are interested in VFX and you don't really know what it includes, this kind of shows everything that you can be doing in said project. And I mean, this is maybe just the tip of the iceberg still, right? But at least with this certain element.
Yeah. But you already work in the business, so
yes.
Can you revolve some secrets about what's coming up?
Well, please go to E3, watch Somerville, selling it highly here. No, yeah, I'm the lead VFX artist on that project, and I'm actually using a lot of the same technique that I've been doing for this project in that new game we're doing. So that's quite interesting.
Okay, that's cool. So we need to check that out, and I hope in a way that you will make this into an educational piece at some point.
Yeah, the purpose is to have it ready for WebGL, so it's going to be on a portfolio, so you can actually play it in the future.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you.
You too.
So I'm a bit scared as well, because he made a game about being evil.
Yeah, being unethical, I guess. Playing as an unethical leader, gathering followers, conquering, killing your enemies. But I think the main point was that I wanted the player to feel unethical, and I discovered that you have to make the player go through a process, because if I just plop them in the world and make them the leader, and you have an army and you kill followers and you kill other people, it's just like what we're used to from other games. Yeah, it doesn't feel evil. So I had to design the whole process around it.
Yeah, it's more complex than just evil. It's really an interesting and serious game and problem that you have stuck into. And I feel it's also like a personal project for you.
Yeah, definitely. So it is a personal project. It's a solo project. I did everything, the game design, the programming, the art, the animations, yeah, just everything. And it was, I don't see necessarily the project as being commercially viable, but I just wanted to make something, yeah, for myself that I have full creative control over, and full control over how it functions and the story that it tells, and yeah, through the visuals and through the game design.
So if I were to play this or experience this, or your fellow students or other who are interested, what should they do?
What should they do?
Yeah.
I don't know, play the game as they feel that they should. There's no right or wrong way. I think the game is not available for download yet. I haven't put it up on my itch page yet. I might in the future. But if you get to play, just play it in the way you think that you should, and come to your own conclusions about it.
But it certainly has potential for development, I think. So what is your ambitions with the game, if any?
Right now, I don't really have any ambitions with the game, to be honest. It's something I would have to look into, and yeah, right now it's more of a personal project to test my assumptions about game design and constructing a narrative without text. But we'll see. Maybe there is something I can do with it.
I think we need to spread the word then, because to convince you to actually release it in some form or another. Right. Because even though it's an unpleasant experience in a way, it's also fun, and that's part of the disturbing thing about it.
Yeah, that's another thing that I discovered, that you have to make the game at least somewhat fun, yeah, in order to draw the player in.
Okay, but I guess I'm looking forward to play it again. And thank you, Gideon.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so can you explain the project?
Yes, of course. So I did this transmedia designs. I really wanted them to fit into several different formats. And I chose to do 3 character designs. And of course, it's not really realistic to do like 20 different media examples. So I just chose to do like an example for 2D animation and also for some game setups in Unity. And I did some running cycles, and I did some different animation screens and scenes that kind of show the characters and the story and the plot.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So the idea is in a way they can kind of work across different media, and you tried to you made a Unity kind of version of that as well. Can you explain like what's the can you just like sum up the story quickly? Like what's the story and how does it kind of work across media?
Yeah, the story is about family relations, and it's about being tolerant and also accepting other people's differences. And these 3 girls, they are siblings, and they get this challenge that they go out to a carnival and they lose their little brother, and then they have to kind of work together in order to find him again. So that's the main quest and the setup for a game. Yeah.
Great. And so which of the characters are you most proud about?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I like them all actually, but I think the one that is a bit more designed with a bit of a more sharp shape language, I think she's very cool. She's very different from the others, but I think they all have their unique features and personality.
Oh, great! Thanks a lot. I really like this kind of project of kind of going between media and thinking about like what kind of fits between here. So thanks a lot, Michelle.
Thank you.
And we're live. So welcome to Jan. And so Jan, you made this project called Mini Game Show, which is a project for cinemas. So can you explain this? Like how does one get to this kind of weird idea of making kind of games for cinemas, and what kind of games did you actually make?
Right. So this project is a collaboration between Bolverk Games and Cinematastic, which has already a collaboration with Nordic Film Cinema, and they are making smartphone-controlled games for advertisers which run before movies, obviously. And they wanted to check out what other possible games or what other possible use of cinemas could be made, and this technology that they possess, and so they reached out to Bolverk, and together we tried to design a cinema game show.
So what's a good cinema game show? Like how does one make a good cinema game show?
Well, there is this basic problem of like having 100 players on the screen, which is kind of problematic. So I've maybe focused my project a little bit on finding solutions to that. So like one of the solutions is the top-down view. But the problem is like the limited amount of screen space to show players individual like feedback and about their characters, and also about whether they're doing good or bad. So currently, I mean, in this video you can't see it because this is recorded like last minute by you. So it's not my final version, but I found like solutions to making the individual characters findable better and making feedback. And this can be better seen in the previous screen, where like there was these like plus animations over each character, and I created a customization for the hats and for the colors, so each player could find their own character easier.
But then how do you deal with this? So I understand that this is kind of the readability issue, but how do you deal with the fact that kind of you talk in the report about this being a captive audience, right? How do you deal with the fact that people may not really be into games at all, and they have to quickly figure out what to do?
Yeah. So the target audience of this project is casual audience. So it needs to be really like simple and understandable rules, and I tried to like limit the controls to always having the same setup, like a joystick, and always having the same like conceptual model for how each game works, so that it's repeatable, and the minigame rules are very simple.
And so, what do we get to play this soon?
I'm not sure.
Yes.
I'm gonna be testing it soon on like in a real cinema in Valby with like many players. Currently, you can just see 2, but the dynamic is getting pretty hectic and pretty fun when there's more players. So we're gonna check if all the design solutions that we implemented work for such a big crowd, and if not, we're probably figuring out maybe other ways of multiple users like on one screen, like because it's normal to play like 8 people on one screen, but not 20 or 40, right? So we're gonna check if there's other possible solutions to that. Maybe
but great, I think. But I mean, it looks like you've come a long way with this project. So thanks a lot, Jan.
Thank you.
Hey designers, congratulations to everybody. So nice that you're finally getting finished with school and entering the world. I really hope that you will all conquer the world, because the world belongs to designers. Thanks a lot. I'm Simon John Andreasen,
you should hide your
game veteran and the head of Daddy. Very best wishes of luck for all of you.
And we're live. So, welcome, Cille.
Thank you.
So, can you talk about your project here, Kitty Catch Cafe?
Yes, it's a mobile game about capturing cats and adding them to your cafe. So it's a bit more commercial than a lot of the other games we've seen so far, with a lot of pink. So you have a match 3 mechanic, and you also have a cafe that you manage as well. I don't know if you have any specific questions for that.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm also a fan of kind of mobile and casual games and cute games. So in a way, like from a distance, like of course this game looks a lot like a kind of matching game with the kind of Neko Atsume sort of kitty collection, and that kind of seems to be a kind of obvious winner. You kind of wonder why nobody kind of has done a game like this before, or at least to my knowledge. Can you explain a bit, like, so what's the deal with this kind of the kind of environment that you're panning through now? Like how does the kind of matching thing tie into the kind of environment here?
Yeah, so you can click on the different items in your cafe and change them, and you can also win more items. So that gives the player a lot of control over the game and a lot of possibility to play and customize, which seemed to be really popular with the people that I interviewed and tested on.
Oh, great. So, but I think also kind of what's interesting is that exactly was what we just talked about, that in a way this is a kind of a meant as a kind of commercial, somewhat mass market kind of product or game. So can you talk a bit about that experience? Like how do you make a game like this, which kind of has a kind of really interesting, kind of very clear kind of personality, and at the same time you try to make this kind of playable by a large audience? Like what was your process thinking about this?
Yeah, the reason I say it's commercial is that I've actually looked a lot into like budgeting and how to get funding, stuff like that. And it's of course shaped by very already popular genres. So I've done a lot of market research and a lot of target audience research. And that's been a huge part of my process, but I'm focused heavily on the graphics. So that's part of my process as well, and like the more fun part for me at least. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they also seem the graphics are kind of pretty central here. So you have this kind of interesting, kind of cute style. So how did you find this particular style out of all possible styles?
Well, yeah, my project is about how do you hit the right level of innovation in this kind of already saturated market and genre, and it seemed that the best way to do it would be to turn up the graphics to stand out, and this seemed to be a very popular style among my target audience, but it was also just something that I wanted to do and that I was drawn to, so it worked out to be a good match.
Great. I mean, it looks really kind of beautiful and
Thank
cute,
you.
obviously. But thanks a lot, Cille.
No problem.
And welcome, Jonas.
Thank you.
And can you talk about your project, kind of bestiary? So in a way, I think from my perspective, also as a supervisor, I think you flipped a genre around a bit. So you took what was usually kind of considered a bit secondary, like the bestiary or the list of the things you've kind of collected in a game, and made that kind of central. Okay, can you explain like what's the game here, and why did you make it that way?
Sure. The thing I wanted to do with this game was to take something that happens inside a player's mind as they're playing, which is them learning how the game plays, learning the system, learning the rules, and turn it into a central mechanic to the game. So in my game, I'm taking classic genres of turn-based strategy and turning it into more of a puzzle game, where the purpose is not necessarily to defeat the monsters, but to learn as much as you can about them. And that includes how much health they have, what kind of actions they take, and why they take certain actions. So I'm really asking the player to play the game and try to learn what the AI is thinking and what the AI is sensing and what the AI then decides to do based on that information, and then add it into the interface you can see in the video.
Yeah, man, I think that's the kind of cool part. But like, how did you kind of prevent this from then being kind of completely kind of overwhelming for a player? So in a way, I really like this idea of, in a way, like that kind of gathering of the information is kind of so central. But how do you prevent this from being kind of overwhelming?
Well, the whole project was an experiment to see if this kind of gameplay is even fun. And as I added more and more complexity to the game, I did a lot of testing with peers and with the intended audience of this kind of game, and made good note of wherever they would run into issues with the experience. And I had a huge focus on good user experience design and usability to make sure that everything is communicated properly and in a fashion that's easily understood by the player. That's very, very important for this kind of game to be even remotely playable, is for it to be understandable.
But then, but I was just wondering what your research question was. Would it be interesting, or would this be fun? So what's your answer to your research question?
Seemingly unilateral, yes. The majority of people I've played alongside with this during playtesting or afterwards have thoroughly enjoyed the game. I was absolutely prepared the entire time to just make something that wasn't fun at all, and that just wasn't the case. Everyone who has played it has seemed to enjoy it.
So great. So thanks a lot. And can you download the game?
Yeah, one of the links I added in the chat is a link to my itch, where it should be the very first game on the page. It's currently playable, but it's something I'm going to continue to work on throughout the summer, and it's going to be real cool soon. Cooler than it even is right now.
Great, even more so. Okay, thanks a lot, Jonas.
You're welcome.
And hi, Jesper.
Hi.
Hi. So you did a project together with Ling, who we talked with just before. Can you explain the project and in a way, like your division of labor between the two, so we understand what you did specifically?
Yeah. So as you saw before, Ling was something of a mix of an art director and the artist of the game. He did the models and everything, and the concept. I worked as a mismatch of, I would say, a director, a programmer, and game designer, and also did a few of the animations.
But Katie, so I think one of the things you were into here was the question of kind of combat, or like specifically about how do you control 3 different characters at the same time in a way that kind of feels kind of meaningful or deep. So can you talk a bit about like what did you try here and what did you find out?
Yeah. So one thing that I thought was important to really instill the sense that you're controlling all 3 characters and not just one character sending out 2 suicide bombers was that the player should have constant access and to independent action split between all 3 different characters. So say usually in a game when you're playing like an action game on a controller, you're restricted by contextual actions even when you're not thinking about it. Say something as simple as jumping requires the context that you're standing on the ground, unless the game has a double jump, but that's another thing. So I wanted to sort of remove those limitations between the characters, and so in this game you could attack and defend at the same time because you're not restricted by only being able to perform one action at a time. And that like multi-layer control is what was supposed to give the player this feeling of embodying all 3 characters.
So I guess also does it work in a sense? I mean, I played the game. I think it works, but why does it work? Like, what were the choices you were kind of making about the controls here?
So to actually make this manageable, because action games are already harder as they are. People are trying to just survive the battle, and now you have to do it ×3. And so I thought that even having 2 characters to control and manage at once is already hard, and now in this game we decided to have 3. I made it so that you control one character like manually as you classically would with an analog stick, but the other 2 are moved around by an AI that decides their pathfinding. And you can then decide for this AI how it should behave, like should it advance towards your target or retreat towards you. And if you play the game, you'll find that even though the movement and positioning is done by an AI, there are tricks in the game that you can exploit to actually also manually take control of your characters if you want to. But that's like that's something that I put on a layer above initial playing to not like overwhelm players.
And so I guess a bit like the question I was asking Jonas just before. So the answer to your question in a way is yes, right? That you could make a game like this.
You could, yeah.
Yeah. And so what's the next step for this game?
The next step would be content and refinement, because there are some things that, you know, I made it based on some assumptions and tested them and then reiterated them a lot during the process of making the game. And of course, somewhere toward the end, we had to feature lock the game and just finish it. And so there were some things that I discovered, something that I discovered that I would want to do differently. Other than that, it would be mostly content.
Okay.
We're imagining like a colorful cast of maybe like 10 different boss characters.
All right, great. So thanks a lot, Jesper.
Thank you.
Fools, they don't know the tides, they'll never have it all. Slow up with the stars, you'll never catch me in the fall. Although you want it, and every night when you're coming around, I'ma smile while I shoot you down. I'm my own favorite lover. You can try if you like. I'll keep my heart undercover. It's mine, it's mine, it's mine. I'm not looking for another. I'ma give you some time. I'll keep my heart undercover. It's mine, all mine. All mine, all mine. I don't care what you're saying about me. True, I can help myself. I keep it running cool. You're drifting in the day. You're just my kind of emerald blue. But do I want it? Every night when you're coming around, I'ma cry while I shoot you down. I'm my own favorite lover.
So can you also explain the idea of the lyric music video? How does this? You spent some time kind of rehearsing that, also researching that genre, right? So what's a good lyric music video?
I mean, you can do really basic ones, which is just like karaoke style, where the text appears when the song is sung. But yeah, it's not. There's not much theory about it because it's kind of a new genre, but it's a part of like this new media swirl that happened after MTV and when YouTube came, where everything is kind of inspired by all genres, and also the viewer can help with developing different styles or genres. Yeah, and for my video, I wanted to work with like integrated typography, so everything is kind of integrated in the environment and pops up when the lyric appears.
Right, and can you talk a bit about the style? So I think we talked about this, that in a way it's like a modern interpretation of like 1970s interpretation of cowboys, right? Like how does it? What's the deal with that style? Like what's the argument?
I mean, the song has kind of a country twang, so it made sense in that way. But also, I wanted the viewer to have associations to like partners in crime stories, such as Thelma and Louise and Bonnie and Clyde, because it is like it's the main character realizing that she is her own favorite lover. But yeah, also the country genre is kind of a trend at the moment, where people are interpreting it in different ways, where it's also people that you wouldn't consider being like a country artist, like Lil Nas X, and so they're kind of reinventing the country style and breaking down some barriers in that sense.
Great, and I think it's a kind of it's a great video that contributes to that in interesting ways. So thanks a lot, Nikolai.
You're welcome.
Great, and so so I think that's the end of that. So thanks all, and thanks for your attention, and I think it's been a strange last year and a half, and I think we managed to kind of wrap it up well. I was kind of worried that you wouldn't be able to do such great work like during these weird times, but I think you all managed to do something kind of really kind of incredible, and I'm just kind of very proud of also kind of the kind of incredible range of things you've been doing. And so I hope to be able to see you out there kind of in the world, or to have you as guest lecturers, or to have perhaps work with you sometime in the future. So let's just wave bye-bye. I'll be seeing you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great summer.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Enjoy the heat.
Catch y'all later.
Guys are amazing.
Happy summer holidays.
Catch y'all later.
Guys are amazing.
Enjoy the delay.